The Magic Guys.
That was 50% correct, Nick.
Oh, hello, friends. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Magic Guys Hub podcast, and welcome to episode 184. I'm your host, Nick Kay, and joining me this week is Daddy of the Pod, Doug Kahn. Say hey, Doug.
Salutations, kindred spirits.
This
and
week,
haters. Hello to them too.
What?
I'm just saying hi to the haters. I like to say hi to them occasionally. I know they lurk. Hi. That's all.
Who hates Doug Kahn?
They're out there.
No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a true story.
We have nothing but love. We have nothing
but love. But hi.
We have nothing but love, especially here on the podcast. So thank you for being here. To our friends as well. Unfortunately, Josh Nabito is not here, but he does send his love in the form of boots and cats. Bless you. And just a quick shout out to everyone here. Hello to Thomas, Chris, Tim Askin, Andrew Massey. It's a new name. Good to see you, friend. Our friend, the Christian Magician, and abundance of others. Drago Tier. Good to see you, Nick. Thank you all for being here. We have a very exciting guest this week. But before we hit off, let's have a quick catch up with Doug. Doug, you are forever busy. Anything exciting to report this week?
Oh, yeah. I was busy being. Oh, I'm a little hot on the mic, Nick says. Let me tune it down. That should be gooder. A little bit lesser. I celebrated my birthday. So I was being a regular muggle for the last few days. The wife and I skirted off to local casino. I got some poker sessions in, had a great time, made a little. Wife lost a little. I think our memories equal the amount we spent, and I got to spend it with my best friend, love of my life. So,
wow, that is adorable. Yeah. Do you? I was told that in casinos you can't cheat with the cards, but you can cheat with the chips. Do you cheat at all?
You know what? No. I have cheated in a poker game where I had no skin in the game, as they say. I was a dealer in a tournament at a local bar, and occasionally I'd throw in some false shuffles or a false deal, but never where it would affect the game. I wouldn't even know the card. I would just bottom deal to see if I could do it. So that's about the extent of my cheating, just to try to get away with it, but not have it matter.
There used to be a poker game among the street performing fraternity here in Melbourne, and the deal was that you were allowed to cheat. In fact, it was encouraged. But if you were caught, you had to fork out $50 into the kitty. So yeah,
there was rumor of a game like that in Cincinnati when I was a young magician. They said, these guys have a poker game, and it was like Larry Pringle and Ken Beal, Paul Swinford, some real heavy hitters, and I can only imagine these guys really going to work. What a great way to practice if you're into that.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, speaking of practice and practicing magicians and filmmakers, we have an amazing guest on today. Doug, I cannot wait to meet them. Would you be kind enough to do the intro?
Wow. Well, let me tell you, this gentleman and his partner in crime, we'll say, have made an amazing piece of art. And prior to this, Shawn Farquhar, the name I'm sure many are familiar with, has established himself as an icon of modern magic, accomplishing things that are unheard of, multiple-time award-winning, world champion, FISM award-winning magician. I think he's won every award there is. He's a multiple Penn and Teller, fool us 2 or 3 times, maybe. We'll let him tell us how many times. When you lose count, that's when you know you're doing all right. And man, just let me tell you just about being in the same room with this guy at a magic convention. He's the last one to leave the jam and always there helping guys out, and just what a wonderful human. I could keep blabbering about him, but he's here now, so we can talk to him. What do you say we bring him on?
Let's do it.
Hey, that's really cool to hear your eulogy in advance.
I glossed over John just because I don't get to see him that much. But let me tell you about Jon Ornoy. How do you pronounce it?
Ornoy. Ornoy.
Ornoy. What an amazing film you've made. I mean, sure, Shawn gets the headlines in these magic podcasts, but you're the one who did all the work.
He did. He did it all. I just showed up.
Indeed. Now, folks, we obviously know who you guys are, but there might be a very small minority of folk listening who don't know. So please, John, let's start with you, good friend. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm a filmmaker based in Vancouver. I've been working in the film industry for about 25 years, produced and directed a bunch of films, but this is my first feature that I've directed. And yeah, it's been pretty exciting to be out here now sharing with everyone. And yeah, thanks for having us.
Very cool. And who's your friend? Is he a magician or something?
Something.
Hi, my name's Shawn, and I'm an addict. I'm down to 2 packs a day. Sorry.
I left out past international president, right? Of the
Past international president of the IBM, past president of the Canadian Association of Magicians, past president of the Pacific Coast Association of Magicians, past president of Ring 92. Yeah, I'm just a joiner. That's me. It's like,
may I ask a question off the back of that? That wasn't actually on my radar until you mentioned it. But what I'm very curious about is this. I find that magic clubs, which we joked about backstage, that it's basically, most of them consist of a bunch of old folk who don't particularly practice magic. They just want to know secrets and go home. They don't really, they just enjoy it. They don't particularly love it.
No, wait a minute. We didn't go all there. We were just like, it's old people.
Old people.
What? Doug, you were late to the chat, so please let me finish my point.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've spoken about this with almost every magician we had in here, Morten Christensen being one of them just last week. And this is one of the things that I wanted to touch upon. It seems like it gets to a point in a magician's career where they become successful and they start venturing into a realm where, as far as magic skills go, it becomes into more of an elite, almost time to step into the world-class magician. And I find that when people start to hit that realm, that they stop going to the clubs and they stop involving themselves in that realm. And they have their reasons. But I feel that maybe you shouldn't, and maybe you should be a world-class magician hanging out in these clubs, if nothing else, to inspire more. I don't know anyone who's done that better than yourself. Why do you do it?
The magician I am today if it hadn't been for the magic clubs. And to be selfish, to just leave now going, well, I got everything I need and it's time to go. I look at the young people that when I was in the club and they were like 9 and 10, and now are all professional headliners working around the world, and they are just as committed to coming back to the club too. And yeah, you get the guys and the girls who are just in it to learn a few tricks, but you've also got the hobbyists who love the history. And I had mentors like John Gill, and he would go into the library. I'd say, I want to learn a watch steel. And a month later, the next meeting, he would have a duotang folder with 400 pages that he photocopied from every book that had something to do with the watch steel, and said, I could never do that research. I could never afford to do it. And here was a person spending their free time to help me. What I do is little compared to what they did for me. I mean, yeah, I see these professors go, I don't belong to a club because I'm too busy working. I said, but you're working because you were in a club at some point. And if you weren't, then you're very rare, just really rare.
Yeah. John, do you find that to be sort of true in the filmmaking realm?
Yeah, I think any kind of creative industry, you're going to be standing on the shoulders of people above you, who have been there before. So yeah, definitely. I think you can go to film school and learn a little bit, but you're not really going to learn the craft until you're out there doing it amongst other professionals and people who have been doing it for decades. So yeah, I think that's definitely an important part. I wouldn't say I'm quite at the point in my career where I'm passing that on yet, but I'll be there soon.
Hey, speaking of passing it on and related topics, Shawn, you're going to be at Magic Texas this weekend, which is the combined Society of American Magicians and also
Texas Association of Magicians, and it's FISM North America, the only gateway to go to the World Championship next year in Italy.
Sure to be a killer weekend, but what caught my ear earlier, you're also doing, because you're not busy enough, the Society of Young Magicians?
Yeah, they have a youth academy, and they've asked several of the artists that they would donate their time to come in, teach, lecture, share, workshop with the kids. And, I don't sleep, so I have a few extra hours than most people do. So I'm doing that as well. I love that group. I've done it for a number of years. New Orleans last year.
I did participate in New Orleans. Arlen called me up and was like, Doug, you got some time? I said, for the youth, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we're supposed to do, Doug, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're doing a screening of the film there too.
Yeah, we're showing the film there.
So if you're in the Dallas area, you're showing it at the convention and also publicly as well, correct?
We've got screenings on August 30th and September 2nd at the Look Dine-In Cinemas in Dallas. And
Fantastic.
so we'll be there for the first show, and we'll do the Q&A, and we'll...
Apparently they can eat there.
Yes, you can have your
So
dinner.
they can have a dinner, watch the movie, then I do a short show, and then John and I do a question and answer. It's kind of like the whole package.
If you're anywhere near Dallas and love magic, go do that.
Come get off the couch. Yeah.
I mean, you're probably going to Magic Texas anyway, because wow, what a lineup that is.
Yeah,
it's like
Mike
all
Miller's
FISM winners.
Mike Miller, the entertainment director, I think it's the best lineup. He's been doing it for decades, but it's without a doubt the best lineup I've ever seen him put together. It's every FISM winner since like 2009. It's just
crazy
insane.
good.
I mean, not all, but like the ones you really like go, oh my God, Eric Chen Laurent with his piece of paper, Norbert Ferrer. It's just
Norbert Ferrer. Oh,
yeah. Watch him perform 1,000 times. And Artem is there. It's like it's a huge lineup of just incomparable performers.
Well, let's circle back to this. So we are talking, of course, about the movie that you guys have produced, and of course you, John, you directed, which is Lost in the Shuffle. Tell our folks what it actually explores, because to me, it's crazy fascinating. And what was even more fascinating is before the show, you were telling us that not only are magicians loving it, but real people, like real ones.
Yeah, so that's one of the big goals of the film was, I've been a magic fan my entire life. I don't know how to do anything, but making a documentary is a kind of way of immersing yourself in a world and giving yourself an excuse to spend a lot of time there. And so I'm hoping that people walk away from the film who aren't magicians with a better appreciation of the art form, because I think it's one that does generally not get the credit it deserves. And so people can kind of walk away from it going, wow, it's not just, simple things that you can buy in the store, that there's a lot of heart and philosophy and psychology that goes into it. And that these are artists who are expressing themselves through this craft. And so, yeah, I really hope people walk away with that appreciation.
John really pulled the passion out of all of them. It shows in the film that they're all truly passionate about it, and they express it in such amazing ways. It was really heartwarming.
What I find really interesting is this centuries-old murder mystery surrounding the design of playing cards. And I only say that because it's the first time it's been brought to my attention. And I was unaware of this until now. Doug, were you familiar with this?
Well, I learned about it last year when Shawn previewed the film in New Orleans. Before that, I wasn't.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a very interesting part of it, that none of these world-class magicians that we talked to had ever really looked at the design of the cards. We all spend so much time, working with them, but it's something that you maybe see so often that you stop looking at. And so I think it's really cool to kind of step back and really take a focus and look at the cultural and sociological impacts that these very simple pieces of paper have had, and then add the element of the kind of endless amount of creativity that they can inspire amongst magicians.
So
I love that we sprung it on them. We didn't give them any advance. We said, we're going to talk about playing cards. And then in the middle of the interviews, it was like, what if I told you? And they're like, what?
Well, I'm just curious, before we press on to the questions that we have from our audiences, I was wondering who stumbled upon finding this murder mystery?
Me.
And where?
Well, in the movie, I'll tell you all about it, but I can tell you that Steve Beam put out a magic book, a semi-automatic card tricks in it. There's one where the Queen of Spades actually turns her head the other direction. And that fascinated me because I thought he'd snuck in a gimmick card into my deck. And then it was like, oh, everybody's deck. And I was like, seriously? And I grabbed other people's decks going, yeah, it's in all of them. It's like different brands. Yep, it's in all of them. And it just floored me. And then I went down a deep rabbit hole. Why is there a one-eyed jack? Yeah, look at that. See, the queen faces the wrong direction. Great face one. Isn't that crazy?
So Shawn said, why is that? And that's what started the journey, huh?
Yeah, right there. Why? And there must have been a reason. An artist wouldn't just do it out of, hey, And then you look and you'll see she's got these little symbols in her hands. What are those for? And then you notice that she's got a scepter. And I'm thinking that's really weird that a woman would have a scepter, because the scepter is the power. And all the other women just have little flowers in their hands. It became quite cool. Even if you look into the ornate crowns on them, the Queen of Spades is different from all the other ones. It's just the artist really wanted to distinguish her. And then those little symbols in her hands, that was the linchpin. I was in France on vacation, and I saw that symbol in a palace, and I asked some questions and didn't get any answers. But then at the airport, I asked the janitor, and he explained it to me, and all of a sudden, everything just fell into place like dominoes.
They represent like ferrets. Is that correct? It's like a
They're called. They're not actually a ferret. They're an ermine.
Ermine.
It's
I
a
don't want to
ferret
give away too much, but the detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that these cards that we use today, like the lineage of the art, is basically draws back 500 years. So there's been an evolution, and you can see in the film how the cards have kind of developed. But really, it's the same layout and the same design. And a lot of the iconography hasn't changed in all that time either, which is really interesting if no one knows who started it and why it's there.
Yeah. That they never changed those little symbols. To me, is like at any point, the only people who have ever changed those things are magicians making vanity decks.
Yeah, because everyone talks about the whole it's you count up all the pips and it's 365 and we have 52 weeks a year and that's how many cards are in the deck and the 4 seasons and the 4 suits and like
13 lunar cycles. All of that is all mechanical. It's and I have another level to the film that we weren't able to tie to say where I think the art came from. But it's obviously whoever did the art, we don't know, but they definitely understood putting messages in and making it very, about nature and mathematical. It's just the designs, looking at things like the 8 of diamonds and how in the empty space is an 8. They're very talented, whoever they were.
And where do you think it came from? If you're
it's interesting. The castle where the murder takes place is also the resting place of Leonardo da Vinci.
That's so cool.
Wow.
The last few years of his life as sort of an artist in residence, it was a little bit after the King in our film passed away. It's a very interesting twist to the story.
We could talk
Did
about
you mention that in the movie?
Nope, because we can't put the tie together.
That nugget, or
I can't put the tie together, and I don't think Leonardo did it. I think that one of his students did it, because when Leonardo died, all his students would then scatter to the winds. Rouen was just down the road. It was the perfect place for somebody to go, and Rouen was this economic hub, and they would have been making fun of. It was, in my opinion, I think it was like a parody deck. You know how we make a deck and make fun of another place? They were making fun of it and telling the story in the cards.
Yeah,
and just after a while, they forgot to tell the story in the cards. And that was the one that caught, because all the regions had playing cards. It's just this one caught on. It was simple enough. The story probably was great and people told it. And the next thing you knew, we had it. But because I can't tie it together, it's just really beyond supposition at this point.
Wasn't there a time where playing cards were used as a currency?
We talk about it in the movie. It was also used for adopting of the children.
That was actually fascinating and made so much sense that cards would be used for that purpose. And yeah, you go into a good overview of all kinds of interesting things.
Yeah, because for a long time there were no designs on the back of the cards.
Right.
So people use them for all sorts of different applications.
Mozart used it to compose music.
Shawn, how much of the history of playing cards were you familiar with before this movie? Is this a passion of yours for your life?
It is now.
So you find the queen that faces the other way. Is at that point that you say, I'm going down this rabbit hole?
Down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Straight on down. Yeah. I played with cards. I just never looked at them. And
you think I've been around them my whole life, right? And you think you know a thing or two about them, but then you watch something like Lost in the Shuffle and you're like, wow, what a deep subject matter that I really am not that familiar with.
And it's fun when you read a lot of the books, just repeat what the other book said. But I found books that were written basically at the same time as the books that we follow, and they were just discarded to the side, but they had totally different solutions to them. When they talk about things like the playing cards having names, and they have like Charles on the card, and he goes, well, all the experts will tell you that's not really Charles, it's Charlemagne. And I'm like, then why didn't they write Charlemagne? They said, oh, it's too many letters. I said, so it was okay with Alexander the Great. It's like there's a great moment in the movie where we're discussing it with a playing card historian, and he's going, but it's in the book. And that was his answer. I'm glad the editor edited out the amount of times he said it's in the book, and kept saying, but you can make up stuff. And I said, yeah, like in the book. It was like,
did any of the magicians that you visited have issue with your claim? Like, is Juan Tamara, you're crazy? It was.
I loved it. Tamara said I was crazy.
But then he also takes responsibility for it.
Yeah, later he says he's the murderer, so we're good.
Oh,
And
yeah.
at this age, it could be, right?
Yeah. No, I think everybody was pretty receptive to it. I kind of think that, at the end of the film, it's up to you to decide whether or not you think that you are interested in the theory. But to me, it's an expression of Shawn's continuing evolution as an artist. And I think that's really interesting as well, that, this stage in his career, he's still kind of diving back deep into the origins of what he was doing and finding new creative inspiration from that.
In magic, we never stop learning. And I think with any sort of craft or art form, we never stop learning. What I'm curious about is how much more have you learned about this topic, the topic of the movie with cards and the history, since it's been released? Have you gathered more knowledge? Yeah,
I continue to, and I keep looking, trying to exhaust sources and find more sources. I don't want to give up on it. And I learned stuff during the movie that, people debating us on things of the history, and there's a doctor in it that gives us a solution and says this is his theory, and I'm like, I blew his theory out of the water, but we edited it out because I blew his theory out of the water. I'm not going to stop. I would love to find that link to the artist at some point, because nobody owns the rights to the playing card faces. Isn't that wild? You can print all the faces of like a bicycle playing card deck yourself, minus the ace of spades and the jokers, of course. But jokers didn't even come in until the 1800s. But the regular face of the cards, you can print them. Nobody owns the rights to them.
You said the jokers didn't come into the 1800s. I'm curious, do you know why they came in?
Yeah, a game of euchre. Euchre needed something extra, so they added them for that. And I only know that because I went down the deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, we had one of the silver linings of the pandemic was it gave us a lot of time to sit at home and do research. So we were able to milk that pretty well.
Were you both kind of hands-on on getting the research done with this?
John was amazing. He delved deep into the French history, and he would say things like, she was basically pregnant her whole life. And I'm like, really? He said, yeah, she lost like 6 children. I'm like, 6? Look at how many ermines are in her hand. And he goes, oh, 6. I'm like, there you go. It's like, he would point things out, and I would go look at the cards going, all right, there it is. And so many of them are indicated with ermines in the background to draw the reader or the viewer to actually see that.
Yeah.
How much research, as far as the timeline, went into before we started shooting?
This entire process has been about 4.5 years. So there was, I think it's probably about 4 or 5 months of solid research and to start off with, and then taking all the kind of various storylines and figuring out how to try, at least on paper, create a narrative thread. And that became the sort of script that we used to go shoot it with. But the longest part of the process was financing and putting the money together. We did a Kickstarter campaign, 2021, that went super well. The Magic community really came out for us in ways that I had not expected, because I wasn't as familiar as Shawn was, but Shawn had the faith. And then piecing it all together after that. So we filmed March, April 2023, and then edited for about 9 months, and then here we are.
9 months editing. Notice how he glazed over that part.
Can you talk a little bit about the tech that you travel with to film this thing? Like 2 cameras?
The coolest camera ever.
Yeah, I'm a tech camera guy now. So I'm interested. What do you
We use the red Komodo. Being able the digital technologies that exist now, and the fact that the camera body is about that big. So there were 5 of us. We traveled with as much gear as we could, but at every city along the way, we hired people to help us out and bring the stuff that we couldn't actually travel with.
And $500,000 in German lenses. I know that because they kept asking me to carry it through security everywhere. They're like, no, let's scratch.
Lenses ain't no joke.
Yeah,
how would you not trust that?
It was terrifying. They would open it up and they go, "What those? Oh, these are lenses. It's about $500,000 worth. If you touch them, just the solvent on your face. Oh, okay." And they would just close them back up. It was fascinating.
So
I don't like to leave the house with my camera. I don't even know how you do that on the road. Multiple
6K camera. I mean, you can see the pores in my nose.
Yeah.
A lot of hard drives.
And a lot of hard drive. Someone in the chat asked RJ about who owns the IP for Ace of Spades. So the answer is each company individually. When they first came out, companies didn't produce the Ace of Spades. It was a taxing thing. And so you purchased the Ace of Spades to add to your deck of cards. And there were people killed over counterfeiting aces of spades. Wow. But now each Ace of Spades is unique to their own company, and they own the IPs to them.
Wow. And what I'm curious is, with regards to the interviews, let's talk about some of the people you did interview and what it was like meeting them, and who sort of made great contributions.
Everybody was contribution,
except for maybe the British historian. Moving the card around to try to find the frame. Just stand still; the camera will find. I was freaked out that John said, pick some people, write to them, pick your A list. When they say no, we'll move to the next 4, and we'll just keep going. And I wanted them by regions. We wanted somebody from America. Going back from there would be England, from there France, back from there Spain. So it was like, okay, I'll find these people. And I picked them, and they all said yes. It stunned me. And then every one of them gave of their time freely and helped us to pick locations. Richard Turner, the best card mechanic in the world, picked this Western saloon with swinging doors. And Texas Bob at the door. Oh, my God. You already got a picture of Texas Bob, right? Yeah. You're just missing the spurs. He had spurs. He really did. His talk was unbelievable. His demonstration of a second deal with the camera just in slow motion, you still couldn't see it. And his heartfelt. And Michael Vincent.
Yep, they were all, like I said, they brought the kind of the passion, particularly Michael talks about, because with each of the magicians, we asked them to share with us their favorite plot. And we wanted to know how they learned it, and then what they've done to add it, and what they've added to it to make it their own. And then Shawn takes each one of the plots that he learns, and literally over the course of the time that we're traveling, he's creating a new routine that we premiere at the end of the film at the castle where the king died. So
there's no pressure there. Alexandra Duvivier, we went to the Double Fond, her family's magic theater, and she presented her plot. She demonstrated 40 versions of her plot.
I saw the clip. She did wild card. Then the next clip, there's 30 wild cards.
She just it was unbelievable how creative she's been.
Wild cards.
Is her father still alive, Dominic?
Yeah, absolutely. They still do shows together, and they produce the Double Fond TV, an actual online TV station.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have a magic shop, the oldest magic shop in the world, and they're still doing it all. And she's touring.
Yeah, she's a busy lady these days. She's a busy lady these days.
Oh yeah, well deserved. She asked me in the first meeting. She said, "Why me?" And I said, "I'll be honest. It was between you and Boris Wilde for a card magician. And Boris is like my brother, but I really love that you fooled Penn and Teller. That you come from generations of magic. That having a woman's voice would be important in the film." I said, and Boris will understand. And then in the end, when we filmed at the castle, Boris surprised us by showing up as part of the studio audience. So it's like, I got them both in the movie.
Yeah, I saw him there with his wife.
Oh, we had lots of extra people. Raphael Benatar's in the movie. Woody Aragon's in the movie.
Oh, yeah, right.
My friend Christian Miro and Camilo. There's tons of magicians if you look around. There's even a guy I don't know who, when we're on the street doing magic, and he turns around and does magic for me.
That is phenomenal. So as we march through, we're sort of halfway, and we actually have an abundance of questions from our audience. So a few of you guys have been kind enough to send some speak pipes in. And of course, if you are listening live, you can put your questions in the comments and we'll present them. But let's kick off with the first speak pipe. Here we go.
Magic Guys and Shawn Farquhar. This is Andy Massey from the United States, Kansas to be exact. My question for you all, and specifically Shawn, I know he's spent a lot of time being the IBM president, so it means mentorship has been a big thing. And what's that one piece of advice or that saying that somebody said to you, whether it be a magician or somebody else, that's always kind of stuck with you, and why? for example, I had a 7th grade math teacher that always said repetition is the mother of all skills. And it's that dumb thing that has stuck with me that now is like a creed that I live by, where I know there's going to be something I'm just going to have to grind. And especially magic, that's the truth. Repetition is the mother of all skills. What is that thing for you all, and Shawn specifically? Thanks, guys. Love the pod. Let's go.
That's a great question. It's funny because it reminds me of the Warren Buffett one. Said, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice just makes permanent, which I love. I think the one that stands out to me the most was Marvin Roy many years ago. He said two things that really stood out. The first, he said, if you choose magic as a profession, you'll never be a millionaire, but you'll live like one, which I thought was really cool. And he told me that while we were sitting on a cruise ship, sunning, waiting to do our 10 minutes in a show. And the second, he said, find the unique in you. He said, I would rather you manipulate bagels than be a dove magician, because there are 1,000 dove magicians. But if you manipulate bagels, you'll be the best bagel manipulator in the entire world. I tried manipulating bagels. It wasn't good. But I still think about it that way. Yeah.
You tried doing birds too.
I did birds for years. And it was at that point when he was trying to inspire me to be something different. Marvin told me he started as doing birds, and he was just in a market with Norm Nielsen and Channing Pollock, and soon would come Shimada. And he said, there was no way to compete with these people, so I'll do something different. And we all know him as Mr. Electric because of that.
You talk about magicians that are influential and giving of their time. He was one of them, man. Who anytime I heard of him or crossed his path, he's there giving the goods, especially from a professional capacity, like, Marvin Roy, Mr. Electric.
Yeah. He and Carol, once you met them once, they never forgot you. Carol wrote me a handwritten Christmas card every year till she passed.
Come on now.
That was
That's
just
so sweet.
special.
Yeah, no doubt.
Great question.
Wonderful. Let's press on to question number 2, if we may.
Just got a quick question. What was the hardest obstacle that you had while making of the movie?
Yeah, John, what was our hardest obstacle?
I would say money is probably the big one, but that's not a challenge that's unique to us. Putting together all the financing, trying to get enough money together to kind of achieve the production values that we were hoping for, definitely was about half the time. When we were out on the road, we had some challenges around. There were a number of strikes happening in France that kind of limited our ability to get around. So the biggest kind of obstacle was filming with Juan in Madrid, and then our next stop was the Castle on Amboise. We finished filming with Juan at about 11 o'clock or something. Then they went for dinner. They got back to the hotel about 2 or 3. We get to the airport in Madrid at about 5:30 to find out there are no flights into France at all. And we don't have any kind of leeway in their schedule to wait. So we drive 13 hours back into France. Which left Shawn, oodles of maybe like half an hour to prepare, because as we said, we got a plot from each magician. So we got Juan's plot like less than 24 hours.
I'm driving and trying to figure out how to do something. Yeah. Oh, and then we had a translator. She was awesome. We had multiple translators, but the one that didn't really understand the job throughout the filming, she kept clicking her pen while the subject was answering the question. And then she would like talk over him. And we're like, no. You wait until it's finished, then explain what he said so that you won't be on film. And she's, and then we asked him to describe what Brittany's funeral looked like. And she translated to, he said it was succulent. She wasn't very good at translating.
It was maybe just very well catered. We don't know.
It could have been very well catered. Such a succulent funeral.
Can we explore this real quick for a sec? Because I don't think people can appreciate what the sort of money involved in stuff. And the reason I bring that up is that we jokingly said last week, you can have $200, go into a magic shop and have a career. What are the sort of costs that people don't think about when making a movie of any capacity, any film?
Well, you really want to try and pay people properly. I know I've definitely made films early in the career where it was all sort of volunteer, but you want people who are good at what they do, and those people deserve to get compensated for their time. So that's a big one. There's a few animation sequences in the film, and Jester's Animation in Vancouver did a fantastic job, and we're very
The animation is incredible.
Yeah, Jester's awesome, and
it's so good.
They did it as a passion project. We could never have paid them what it was
Whatever
worth.
you paid them wasn't enough, and but good on you for choosing that company.
Yeah, they were really fantastic. And then I think the single most expensive day we had was shooting the title sequence for the film, which is I was aiming sort of for a ballet of cards. So everything's shot really close up. We use a camera called the Phantom Flex. Most cameras shoot and play back at 24 frames a second. The Phantom goes up to 2,000 frames a second.
I was wondering if the Komodo camera did that shot, because it's cool.
A giant robotic arm thing that's all programmed.
So you can program the arm to repeat the same move over and over again. And then we had a cardistry artist in there to do the moves. And then he had to do the moves precisely over and over again. But when you have frame rates that are that high, you need a ton of light. So we were just melting the poor guy. Like, he had sunglasses on for the entire day. His hands were starting to cramp up. But in the end, I think it really turned out really well.
Looks like a James Bond opening to me. It's so cool.
And so you just rent all that gear for the day to do that?
Yeah, that was an entire package of the crew and the gear. It all lives in one studio. Normally it's, it was still a very expensive day. Normally it's an extraordinarily expensive day. But that was another place where there's a very thriving film community in Vancouver, and we were able to get some people to do some favors for us. It was a really fun day. Anything that you do at 2,000 frames, even just throwing the cards at the camera, becomes it passes in real time in 1 second. But at the playback rate, you get to see all the kind of permutations, and the cards kind of cartwheel and collide with each other. It was definitely a fun day.
I'm curious, of all the things that you had to spend money on or invest in, what's the advice you would give to folks making a film? Do not compromise on cost with this.
Sound. I think that's one where people, it's
you didn't mention your audio solution. How are you capturing audio on the set for a project like this?
Alex.
Yeah, Alex was traveling with us. He had a lot of fun going through the airports every time because he's traveling with something sits on a pouch around his neck. It's got 2 big decks with lots of wires going in and out. It's a big pain in the ass to repatch it every time you travel. So he would go through security with 2 big boxes with lots of wires going in and out of them.
Looking like a terrorist. It was awesome.
So he's on like a mic and just
big
doing
boom.
this. Yeah.
And labs that they're wearing.
Taping them directly on my chest. I had no chest hair for 17 days. It's very special.
First world problems.
I'm telling you.
I have a composer friend that's just told me the other day a line that I like that was that you can have music without movies, but there's no movies without music. And we got a fantastic composer. She did a great job.
Just got nominated.
Just got nominated for her work. So, I think audio is a really important thing. And also having money left at the end to actually let people know that you've made a movie, because it's...
that would have been good.
Yeah. That's always a big challenge.
That would have been really good. We started the funding with Kickstarter, and it was the Magic community that came out and said, we want this movie. And they funded us to our original goal on the very first day of the 28-day campaign. And we went over 300%. And it still wasn't enough to make the movie, but we knew that the community would go for it. And now we're seeing it as we're going around city to city. It's the magicians coming out and dragging their friends, and then their friends going, oh my God, this was great. That's really making the difference.
We could talk just for a minute other ways magicians can support this project from home right now, like
decks of playing cards.
Yeah, let's poke over to your site while you talk about it. So lostintheshuffle.com, Lost in the Shuffle Film.
Yeah.
Lost in the Shuffle.film.
Shawn designed a really cool deck of cards for the film that was part of the campaign. We've got about 200 of them left. And then, we've collaborated with lots of other cool artists. So we've got some cut decks. We got the decks in the bottles. We have a couple of uncut card sheets left. While we're traveling around, Yeah, they're not actually up on the
Sold
site right
out.
now.
Well, that says sold out.
I know.
Do we have two more?
I found two
You
more.
found two more. And they're signed by the artist. I sat down and made every person after the interview sign sheets and sheets of cards. And we have a few decks that are signed by everybody. The cards are really great. They're made by a playing card company I found in Taiwan. Not the one you're used to, but they're better. The quality is like a little lighter stock, but then they're double coated so that they are smooth as silk. They'll last you for years.
Do you have a deck on you, Shawn? Do you happen to have a pack?
I have decks sitting in my showcase because I'll go get it, John. You stand or grab. Would you grab my black?
You only got 200 left. It doesn't sound like you need to hard sell these things.
Well,
Are you gonna have more printed or what?
I have decks inside my showcase that are already open. John doesn't want to open a new one so we can sell it.
Got to make that money.
I made the cards. They're the traditional cut thing that everybody talks about. These are better than traditional cut because they farrow in both directions. Nobody gets cards that farrow in both directions. I'll pull both of them out. I'm using them in the show, and I'm packing for the show. So,
are you going to perform your routine at Magic Texas?
I'm going to do something different at Magic Texas just because of the time constraints and everybody. I'm hosting a big FISM Gala show. When you look at the back, you'll see in the design, I think it's cool. I talk about the door frame that is the claim that he died by bumping his head on a door frame. And then there's the sword and the axe where I talk about the difference and what I really think happened. And then the shield that actually triggered me when I was at the castle. So all that's built into it. The ermines are on the top. Inside on the flaps are the fleur-de-lis, which I think are great. For those people that loved an Easter egg, so if you ever open up your box on the glue line, I printed in the inside, "Why did you ruin this nice tux box?"
Hey, let me ask you about that fleur-de-lis, because that's in the movie. You have it on Chateau Farquhar. You chose that as like your...
Oh, yeah. You definitely. On my house sign that says Chateau Farquhar, the house that cards built.
Yeah. Which this is like, I just did this. I made this design with the fleur-de-lis in place of this.
Great.
Yeah. So it's connected to New Orleans. Why is it connected to Shawn Farquhar? Because
I just love the symbol, and everybody thinks it's French, but it isn't French. It goes back much further than France, back into the days of Spain, the seventh son of a seventh, and how distinct they were. I love iconology, the symbolism, and trying to find out what it really means, what it's been accepted to be. And so for me, it's one of those ones I love to go down the deep rabbit hole to find out more about that. Same as when I went looking for the ermines that are on the end of the box.
Let's say there's a couple more highlights in this deck, right?
I would Christian from Card Shark was the nicest guy in the world to me. He allowed me to use the thing that he adds on every Card Shark deck, the face of the cards. If you
the jumbo pips.
Yeah, I love this, and I also love that on one end you can see how close the pip is to the ace, and on the other end it's wide. See how it's tight, and it's wide.
A one-way.
It's a one-way on the face deck. And it's a one-way on the back into the bricks on the side. So it's very small. But I love on the face because I can spread them out, ribbon spread. I can have somebody select a card. Then I close it up. When they put it back in, they're putting it in reverse. I can turn it around, spread it out, find their card instantly.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, it's in every Phoenix deck of cards since he produced them. We made a really cool Ace of Spades with Lost Shuffle and then the little crown hanging off of it.
Cool.
And mother films down on the bottom.
Yeah.
The cards, I kept all the traditional court cards because I really wanted people to know that this is all about the deck. And then we added a couple of extra cards into it, which I think are cool. I've added this. The King of Hearts is Charles VIII. So you get to see him, which is cool. But I also include the regular one. And I included a Queen of Spades, which is Anne. I don't know if it's in this. Or it might be in that one. Nope, it's here. Yep. There's the Queen of Spades with Anne of Bretagne. Yep. It's the only woman to be Queen of France twice because she killed her first husband.
Man, she's got a crazy story, that one.
Doesn't she? It's amazing. And they farrow like butter. When they're brand new, you know how you have to work in a deck of cards? You do not have to work in this deck of cards. When they come out of the box, they don't feel like sandpaper on the edge. I have a friend in Australia, Laurie. He's a scientist. And Laurie put my cards on this macroscope, and he sent 2 photographs. And the one was a standard bicycle deck of cards, and it had little fibers hanging off the edge. And he said, these are the things we work off because when the blade cuts down, it creates a little rough edge. He said, when I put yours on, it was completely smooth all the way around. And it's because of the double coating on the finish. Most finishes have stipples, air cushion, and that creates dirt. And then your cards get all gummy,
Interesting,
beached up. With these ones, I used a hashtag. I literally took a hashtag and laid the design down. So it still has a wonderful air cushion finish to them. They spread super nice, super easy, really good, but they don't dirty. This deck, I'm proud to say, is almost 6 weeks old.
What?
Wow. Yeah, I barely used it. With a bicycle, I get a week, right? If I get a week, I'm good. Maybe 2. With these, this is 6 weeks, and they're still doing gret. They're starting to go
very
easy.
interesting.
Yeah, and they have a real bounce resilient. They come back again, and they don't warp. When I fly, I always get so nervous because the pressure in the planes, if you put them in your luggage, they'll actually warp the cards, so they buckle, and you hear that click. Yeah. This hasn't happened once with these, not once yet.
Kidding me?
I've never heard of that before. Traveling in the pressure will cause the cards to bow.
Let me tell you the story of FISM 2006.
Yeah, do tell.
Mark D'Souza as my volunteer, and I did the signed card and sealed deck. And there really are sealed decks, and I'm putting a card in reverse into the deck. And so the entire deck, I don't know, is bowing this way. So when you put the card in the other way, it's bowing the other way. So when I asked Mark to cup his hands together and I dropped all the cards, the card I needed stayed in the box. Oh. And there I was with a camera right above me. John Fisher, the director, said, "Can we put a camera? Oh, put it as close as you want to. I'm good." I dropped them out. I turned the box to talk to Mark, and Mark's eyes go straight down. He looks at me with the most alarming look, and he looks down like 3 times to tell me, "Shawn, you're screwed." And I'm like, oh my God. I took the cards back, snuck out the card in the box, did a nice spread pass and put it in the middle so that the trick would end nicely, and it did. But I didn't win. I got a silver. But hey, I still got the silver medal.
Bro, that's strong. You fix a problem like that mid-competition.
Yeah. With the camera right on top of you and 3,000 magicians staring at you. It was very, very fun time to do that. Yeah. But that's what I learned, that cards that you fly with, if you don't take them on the plane with you in the pressurized cabin, the pressure is different in the plane. And you'll get those cards that go click, 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 and the whole deck just bridges.
The things you learn from Shawn Farquhar.
Right? And just one more time, where can we get those decks from?
Lost in the shuffle.film in the store section.
Or if you're coming to one of our screenings, we're traveling with some stuff too, so you can buy it directly from us.
And you can get them autographed. We have Sharpies.
Magic Texas, right? You'll have a
Magic
booth.
Texas. We'll have a table.
There. Yeah.
We'll probably run out at Magic Texas.
Yeah.
Those people at Chicago, I will apologize now.
Well, if you only got 200 left, they're going to sell out there for sure.
Yeah,
you need more cards, man.
Yeah, maybe we need second edition.
Maybe a second edition with a different color, because this was I wanted them to be as close to a stud playing card as I could. And this is the stud color and the texture. If you remember old studs when they were great, when Walgreen actually produced them themselves, they were awesome cards.
Iconic. Yep.
Yeah, really were. This is as close as I've been able to replicate. And the guy's really good. The printer is amazing. He's so amazing. Later, you guys can Google Taiwanese counterfeit ring, and you'll see his name.
Well, as this slowly goes to a close, let's press on with the remaining questions we have through our speak pipe. On to the third one.
Good evening, Magic guys and Shawn. It's a pleasure to say hi. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Here is my question. What advice would you give to someone looking to take Magic full-time? How did you guys do it? Do you have any hints and tips to help someone like me out who's looking to do the exact same? Anything is greatly appreciated. I'm sure it will help someone out as well as myself. Thank you guys in advance and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Run!
That's good advice.
Save yourselves.
Well, I had a mentor who said, Marvin Roy, you'll never be a millionaire, but you might live like one.
Yeah.
What would I say? I tell everybody the same. All my students, I have this an acronym that I use. I say the secret of success is talent, but it's not what you think it is. It's break it down. It's tenacity. You have to be tenacious. You have to never want to give up. You have to really believe that what you're going to do is what you're going to do. And then regardless of what other people say, keep doing it. And then A, which is authenticity. You have to be authentic. You just can't go out there and pretend to be somebody else. There's only one of you. Be you and you'll be great. L, likability. If you're a jerk, then nobody's going to like you. My dad said, if you got them laughing and on your side, you can screw up and they'll still love you and they'll still follow you. So likability. then it's E. That's entertaining. You have to be entertaining and ethical. Ethical and entertaining. If all you do is you fool people, nobody wants to be fooled. I can fool you by saying, look, there's somebody behind you, and you might look. That's not entertaining. And natural. Be natural in the way you perform. Everybody says if you really want to fool a person, look at how you naturally do it, and then find a way to make that the way that you cheat. That way you have that naturalness. Very important. And then T. Did I mention tenacity? Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, tenacity. I think if you use that and you keep that in your head, you can make it. A lot of
but also run.
Yeah,
like, it's not a good choice. It's a bad life choice, and if you can't help yourself, then have some talent.
Run works for the film industry also.
Yeah, I tried to dissuade the youth. I know who asked that question, young Samuel Osborne. He's one of the helpless. He'll be doing magic forever,
to the end of
probably.
time. Yeah. I don't do it because I want to. I do it because I have to.
I had a magic shop back in the day in the French Quarter, and one day I decided I was going to ask every magician that came in for a week that question: why do you do magic? And I decided this: if you have an answer for that, then it's probably not the right answer. And I had a friend who answered it, and that's what he said. He goes, because I have to. And I was like, that's the answer, because you have to, not to get the chicks, not to make the money, not, there's some good reasons, but ultimately just because you love it and, want a magician.
In the film, Juan Tamariz addresses that. And when he says, up until this point in his life, he hadn't been alive. And that the day he saw magic was the day he became alive.
Yeah, was born.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. I mean, if I could bet him for a sec, I would simply say that magic chose me, and I had nothing to, it wasn't up to me. It chose me, and now it's life. And I can't tell you how many times I've said to the universe, maybe I stop this. Maybe I just, try be a normal person and have weekends and try find someone to settle down with and be a dad or something of that nature. And then the universe goes, oh yeah, you got to travel to Malaysia for a wedding now because you're being booked and this high-end gig. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do it just a little bit longer.
Sean's like, I got this.
Yeah.
You can do it.
You can do it. I happily married, been with my wife 42 years, 35 years married, have a daughter who's just the most amazing human being on the face of the earth. She was raised on the road and a well-adjusted, fun person who never wants to be a magician.
Is she involved with Hidden Wonders? Is she active in the theater?
Lori and Hannah are basically the front. We have Billy Schway and Alex and Gabriella, but Lori and Hannah are my rocks. They're always there to help to make it get together. Unless Hannah's working on a film project someplace, she's in there. And Lori is basically like front of house manager. Billy is like our host. Gabriella and Alex are hosts as well. And it's just it's a family operation. The Farquhar
This is Hidden Wonders for anyone who might not know. Sean's small theater in your hometown. Is it?
Yeah, it's close. I live in Maple Ridge, but it's in New Westminster.
New Westminster. Yeah.
Yeah. Hidden Wonders, Speakeasy Magic Experience.
Hiddenwonders.show.
Hiddenwonders.show. Somebody the other day asked me to spell show, and I'm like, really? It's like S-H-O-W.
So is that near the Toronto area? Because I'll be flying over at some point next year, and I wasn't sure where you're going to be.
I'm on the other coast. I'm on the West Coast. Vancouver, outside of Vancouver is where my theater is.
We could talk about just that for an hour, like easy breezy, right?
Yeah, it's a cool place. It's my
a couple more questions, I think.
We filmed up there. Yep. We filmed lots there.
Oh yeah, you'll see it in the film too. Yeah. So that's a win.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe an opportunity to pop over and visit at some point and see the show. That'll be amazing.
Come and play. It's a different show every night. I did 386 of them last year, and not one was the same.
Come on now. Like I said, we could talk about it for an hour.
All right. What's our next question?
Here we go.
Hey, Sean, I had a question about one of your magic mentors, Jerry Andrus. He was quite the character. I'm wondering, what is your favorite Jerry Andrus story?
Bro, coming in with the cool
Jerry was an alien. Anybody ever met him would believe me that we were sitting on a park bench, Santa Barbara. The sun was coming up. We talked all through the night, went for pancakes. We were sitting on the bench, and he looked over and said, Sean, of all the humans I've met, you're one of the more interesting. Like he wasn't part of the group. we were walking down the beach that night, and we saw a little pancake place on the other side. I said, let's go for some food. And so I crossed the road. It was like 7 a.m. There was nobody. There was a car. No car passed for the next 20 minutes easily. I just walked across the road, and then I realized he didn't. He walked all the way down to the crosswalk, waited for the light to change, walked across, walked up to me and said, you broke the law.
He didn't. He wouldn't tell a lie in his performances, right?
Yeah. When he did the Omni deck, he created the Omni deck, and his original presentation was he came out and said, "This is a box for a deck of cards." He couldn't say this is a deck of cards because it had a block of glass in it, right? And he says, and then he would remove it. And he would talk. Unbelievable. He could never tell a lie. Most honest man ever. My favorite story. I wasn't there, but a friend tells me that he put a coin into the payphone to make a call. And at the end of the call, the coin came back out. So he phoned the operator, asked for the mailing address to mail the coin.
Oh, my.
And the operator's like, just take it. He says, I cannot. She said, to make another call. He said, I cannot. Give me the address. And he mailed the coin. Yes. The nicest human I've ever met, the most honest, ethical, creative, intelligent. I miss him. He was always uplifting. Anytime you asked him something, it was always a positive edge to it. If you ever want to go down a deep rabbit hole of joy, go just watch. On my Palmer Magic's website, I have a link to Jerry Andrus, and I have lots of videos that I've culled off of all of YouTube. And you can hear him talking about, being fooled is a wonderful thing. The mind is a beautiful thing. And you're not fooled because you're a fool. You're fooled because you're doing things that your brain has taught you to do. It's just the natural human thing to do. It's just, and his Omni deck is just the best thing ever. I still do his, I do most of his effects at Hidden Wonders at some point in the show. He's just, really
I was just watching his linking pins routine the other day. Where was I? Maybe the Magicana site. I don't know if you have that clip where it's just super up close and
right there, and that little tap, and the ring just melts through.
And then the way he ends clean. He does that in the hand sequence where it's in the spectator's hands and it links, and then everything's there for them to examine.
His book on the linking rings is a master class.
On the pins.
On the pins.
Safety. Yeah, I actually recently bought that book about 4 or 5 months ago, and it's like an encyclopedia.
I've got like 9 copies of them all signed. I don't know.
You have some at Palmer Magic?
I bought another one.
Oh, just for yourself.
Just me.
Okay. You don't sell it at Palmer, do you? Is that
no? I don't. But I lost. I was trying to buy the rights to it, and I got scooped by Murphy. So maybe Murphy's will put it out in the future.
Someone needs to put together an Andrus big book.
Absolutely.
He's got so much little stuff scattered out.
Andrus on cards and control, and his diagonal shift palm are just
the panoramic and all that stuff.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's just he is. I hope I bought Palmer Magic to keep his name alive, and I hope people mention it all the time. So hearing a question like this where we talk about Jerry Andrus just makes my heart.
Great question.
He had a brother, George, who was just as alien as he was.
We could also do an hour on Jerry.
Easily.
Yeah.
And we should, if the opportunity arises, please say you'll come back, and we'll
I'll be back in a heartbeat. And I'll give you a couple of other guests that we can talk about Jerry. I'll bring other people in that are just
I love that. Like, I'm going to hold this that the moment we have an opportunity to sing his praises, please be there.
I'll be there.
Amazing. Well, we have one last question before we wrap things up for the evening. Let's play the last question.
Hello, gentlemen. Josh Norbito here, fellow Magic guy, and really wish I was here on this episode with you all. Shawn and Jon, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope Nick didn't tell you too much about how he used to be in a band, but my question for Shawn is, I'm fascinated and love your Hidden Wonders Speakeasy Magic experience, playing every week. Seems to be sold out in advance every week. But my question is, what are some of the challenges or discoveries you found from putting on your own weekly show?
Wow. Not that many challenges. because I built the theater the way I wanted to. I built it. Like I banged every nail, hammered, and had friends that painted and screwed things in. And
I think I might answer this question. Well, building the theater was a unique challenge.
Yeah, it was. I took an empty space that and had to envision how to build a theater. Found a book called "Will It Make a Theater?" and I read the book and then started and banged it together. I had some spare time. It was 2020. I opened in June of 2020. There's my challenge. I opened a theater in the height of a pandemic because I thought that was a good idea.
Did you begin building during the pandemic?
Oh yeah, I leased the building on June 1st of 2020. June 15th of 2020, I opened the doors with a 6-foot pole and lounge tables so that they were 6 feet apart, all with masks. Me doing a show with a mask. It was very special.
Wow.
People needed to laugh. People needed to experience
Dude, that's
magic.
so cool.
I opened, I was allowed 12 whole people in the theater. And everybody said, how does that feel? I said, it's the best feeling ever. I was working for thousands of people just before the pandemic, and I never met any of them. With 12 people, you could see the emotion in their faces at the end of it going, oh my God, we miss this. We miss being out in community and connecting and laughing and not thinking about, the crap that was going on in the world at that time. It was, yeah. And when we got to open to full, which is only 30 people, the place went insane. And I sell out 5-6 weeks in advance on a regular basis. And people come back for their 5th, 6th, and 7th time because to make it challenging for me, I wanted to be a challenge. I built it so that it was a choose your own adventure. I have cabinets and boxes filled with magic and people pick what they want to see. And so no 2 shows are the same. I change the material. There's a challenge. I'm always looking for material. I'm not creative enough to come up with enough material to just do me. And so I'm always looking to find other people's material that's available that I can make uniquely my own. So I'm buying it. I've never bought more magic than I am now because it's like, well, I need more. I need this and I need that. And it's like, oh, there's a thing with a voodoo doll.
So this is justification, like you really need it.
Yeah.
I saw that warehouse you have of stuff.
I got so much crap. It's insane. And I love taking an old effect that I've had for like 30 years and making it new. Yeah, I saw boy from your hometown, Michael Dardant, Doug. He's taken the invisible deck to a whole different level by the way he presents it. And I was like, in my life, I would never have thought to present the invisible deck the way he does it. And I don't want to spoil it for everybody because they should see it. And when they see it, they'll go, what? Why didn't I think of that? It just, yeah. So I'm always picking something up, looking at it and going, what can I do with that? And going through all the toys in my garage, going, now, how do I make a trick out of that? And, yeah.
I think what's really wholesome is the intent you do things for. Like, I mean, just hearing you say that people needed to smile, I think that's so beautiful. But I also find that it's sort of reminding me of a memory from your film, John, which is all joking aside. And I don't remember the line exactly, but the line was something to the effect of, there are happy people and there's funny people. Go be happy.
Yeah.
It's a great line.
And that's a great line. And I wanted to know, like, where did that come from? Because that's a very heavy line.
The screenwriter for that film is a guy from Sheffield, England, named James Pickering. That was a great experience working on that film as well, about a young woman finding her voice as a stand-up comic. So I guess my work subconsciously kind of comes back to people and the creativity and how you express yourself. Yeah, I think that's just a theme I'm interested in.
Where would I watch this film?
You can get it at any place where you can rent or stream videos.
And the name of the film?
All Joking Aside.
All Joking Aside.
Has one of my friends, Rich Lett, in it, who is a brilliant stand-up comic, and he plays this antagonistic person that becomes this amazing. Yeah, it's great. When they're off looking to get on video on demand, Lost in the Shuffle, they can also earmark and go, we watched 2 movies by Jon Ornoy.
My company name is Animal Mother Films, so you can find my work at animalmotherfilms.com.
And y'all go look at some of the clips there. There's some excerpts that are not in the movie that are cinematic quality and outstanding. The clip from the printing press is amazing.
Yeah,
as is the piece in the movie. That blew my mind.
That's on our YouTube channel. So there are 2 cut scenes that you can find and watch right now on the YouTube channel, which is Animal Mother Films as well. One is what Doug was referring to. So we visited the Shuffled Ink card factory in Orlando. So in the film, you get to see kind of historical processes like the original printing presses that were making cars a few hundred years ago, and now you get to see what the modern plants look like. And then there's the clip with Dr. Gustav Kuhn that Doug also referenced before. He's a psychologist that studies the science of magic and what magic and magicians teach us about human cognition, how the brain works.
He's so good.
It's good stuff.
Jerry would have loved him.
Well, this episode has been filled with the most amazing stuff. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. It's been absolutely wonderful. But I think our time is now coming to a close, and I think it's time that we leave you, fine gentlemen, with the final word.
You want the final word? I want the final word.
Go for it.
Thank you for shining a light on us and spending some time. If you're really interested in Lost in the Shuffle, please, it's going to be on video on demand starting September 10th. Drop September 10th. Let's see a big bump. You can find it anywhere where you rent or buy for streaming. Go watch the movie if you can't see us in person. If you see us in person, give John a hug and me a high five. John really loves to be hugged. He just loves it. It'll be awesome. It's just. Is that our final word?
Yep. Check out lostintheshuffle.film, sign up for a newsletter, and that way you can stay in the loop on where you can find the film.
The newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. Keep well and busy.
Thanks for listening. It's time for us to disappear now. But we'll see you again on the next episode of The Magic Guys.